This video covers questions 22 through 25 and focuses on using the quadratic formula. Make sure you have the quadratic formula written in your notes. Otherwise, you'll have to make sure you have memorized it. And it's a pretty lengthy formula, so that's not really what we want you to do, is have to try figuring out as you go. So the quadratic formula states x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And we have, this is a, b, and c. So I'm going to replace my numbers in the formula. So this is going to be negative b, so that'd be negative 7, plus or minus 7 squared, minus 4 times a is 2 and c is 3, all over 2a is 2. So we're going to simplify that sum. So we have x equals negative 7 plus or minus 7 squared is 49, minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24, so minus 24, all over 4. That gives me 49 minus 24 is 25 over 4. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. So I'm going to go ahead and split this into two separate fractions, negative 7 plus 5 over 4, and over here, x equals negative 7 minus 5 over 4. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2 over 4. That will give me negative 1/2. And over here, I have negative 7 minus 5 is negative 12 over 4, which would give me x equals negative 3. So I'd write this x equals negative 3, comma, negative 1/2. Be my two solutions. All right, this time I'm not quite ready to use the quadratic formula because we need everything on one side of the equal sign. So I need to move this 10 over to the other side by subtracting it. So I'm going to have 4x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. Now I'm going to be ready to use the quadratic formula. This is my a, b, c. Make sure to pay attention to the signs as we're working through it. So again, I'm going to write out that quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I'm going to go ahead and replace the numbers in the formula. So negative b, well, b is negative 3. So when I have negative 3, that's going to give me a positive 3 plus or minus b squared. I'm going to go ahead and square it right now. So that would be negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, minus 4a, a is 4, and c is negative 10. You see I took that negative sign with it. So make sure you're always taking your signs. And then over 2 times a, which is 4. Go ahead and start simplifying this. We have 3 plus or minus 9. Then I have negative 4 times 4 is negative 16 times negative 10 would be a positive 160 all over 8. When I combine 9 plus 160 together, I'll get the square root of 169 over 8. And now I need to split these into two separate equations. I'm going to have 3 plus square root of 13, or square root of 169 is 13. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 13 equals 8. And then I'm also going to have the negative one. So x equals 3 minus 13 over 8. 3 plus 13 is not 26. It is 16 over 8, which is 2. And then over here, I have 3 minus 13 is negative 10 over 8. I can simplify that fraction by dividing both of them by 2, so it would give me negative 5/4. So I'd write my answer. I ran out of space on here, so I'm going to write it up here. X equals negative 5/4, comma 2. All right, this time it is ready for the quadratic formula because everything is on one side. So this is A, B, and C. Quadratic formula is X equals, X equals negative B plus or minus B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. So we're going to go ahead and start switching that out. So negative B, that'd be negative 7, plus or minus 7 squared minus 4. A is 4 and C is negative 15 all over 2A, and A is 4. So start simplifying this. We have negative 7 plus or minus 7 squared is 49. And then I have negative 4 times negative 15. When I multiply all those together, that gives me a positive 240 all over 8. I'm going to go ahead and combine 240 with 49. That gives me the square root of 249. Or sorry, not 249. I'm going to go ahead and erase this and rewrite it above because I end up taking up too much room here. So that's going to give me negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 289 over 8. Well, the square root of 289 is 17. So I'm going to split this up. X equals negative 7 minus 17 over 8, and X equals negative 7 plus 17 over 8. Negative 7 minus 17 will give me a negative 24 over 8. And when I divide that, that'll be negative 3. And then negative 7 plus 17 would give me 10 over 8, which when I divide both by 2 would be 5/4. So my solutions would be X equals negative 3 comma 5/4. All right, this is my last example of the quadratic formula. So it's not ready to use yet because 20 is on its side by itself, so we have to subtract 20 to get rid of it over here. So we end up with 4x squared plus 11x minus 20 equals 0. Now we're ready for that quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's start plugging it in. Remember this a, b, oh, and now c is down here with negative 20. So we have negative b, so that's negative 11 plus or minus negative 11 squared minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is negative 20, all over 2a. So that gives me negative 11 plus or minus negative 11 squared is 121. It's positive. And then I have negative 4 times negative 20, which will give me a positive 320. over 2 times 4 is 8. I'm going to combine the 121 plus 320. That'll give me 441 all over 8. The square root of 441 is actually 21, so we're going to have negative 11 minus 21 over 8, and we're going to have negative 11 plus 21 over 8. Negative 11 minus 21 is negative 32 over 8, which divides into negative 4. And negative 11 plus 21 over 8 will end up being 10 over 8, which simplifies again to 5/4. We've now seen that one a couple of times. So my solutions are negative 4 and 5/4. That's it for the quadratic formula. If, as you're working on the square root isn't a perfect square, then it can go ahead and leave it in the square root form and don't simplify past this step here. So this step right here, if this isn't a perfect square inside the square root, then just leave it in this form. Good luck.